Welcome to St. Petersburg Together. I'm your host, Janice Ford. Everyone needs a little support in their life. One organization that helps provide that to children's Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Tampa Bay. Joining us today to talk about how this group helps the little ones is Stephen Cook, CEO, and Jenna Civitello, who is over the Director of Individual Giving. Okay, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For those out there who are not familiar with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, can you give us a little background of what it's all about?
Oh, I'd be happy to, Janice. You know, Big Brothers Big Sisters has been in the local market here in St. Petersburg and Tampa for over 50 years.
Wow.
And nationally has been in existence for about 115 years.
Wow.
Started up in New York City. But it's a program that basically provides a caring adult mentor into the lives of a boy or a girl who is wanting and needing to have someone in their life to provide them, you know, both a role model and that adult friend who can kind of do things with them and show them a different path of life. And that's what we do at Big Brothers Big Sisters in a nutshell. The great thing about us is that we are affiliated with a national organization, so our program is evidence-based and outcome-oriented. We track a lot of things to make sure the kids are progressing. But you know, at the end of the day, I always say we're here to make kids happy and provide them a chance for success in life.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. Now, you've been in Pinellas for about 50 years.
Yes.
And now you're working to merge with another Bay Area organization. So tell us about that.
Sure. You know, we're very excited about this. You know, we've been very fortunate in this community to have two great Big Brother, Big Sister organizations. One that serves, you know, the Pinellas County community, and that one that serves the Hillsborough County community. And here in Pinellas, we also have been covering Hernando and Citrus County. And in Hillsborough, they also cover Polk and Pasco counties. And so coming together, we're actually going to serve now a total of 7 counties. We're adding Sumter to the mix. And you know, our goal with this is simple. We think by coming together with all the great resources on both sides of the bay, that we're going to ultimately be able to provide more great Big Brothers, Big Sisters to the kids in all of our communities.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a wonderful asset to have in these areas.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about how do you get your kids? Where do you get them from?
You know, the kids come from a lot of different places. We get a lot of referrals from the people that are raising these kids who might be a single parent mom. It might be a grandparent. It could be even a neighbor who's taken interest. We also get a lot of referrals from the schools because we have close associations with the school districts and a lot of the elementary schools in all the counties that we serve. And they really look for a kid, like from the schools in particular, they look for kids that are struggling, and it has nothing to do with what's up here, but it has a lot to do with what's going on in here. And they can spot these kids a mile away and say, you know, this child needs someone else in their life. And so we get a call and a request then, and then we assess that child, make sure that we're able to serve them, because we're not able to serve all kids with all needs. But as long as we think that we could find a volunteer to work with this kid and help them with those issues, you know, we get on it.
Now, we enroll children ages 5 to 13 in the program and support them and their mentor up into age 18 or when they graduate high school.
Okay, so you do work with kids until they're 18?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you get any kids that are referred from the foster care system or anything like that? So would you know that?
Yeah, we do get a few referrals, you know, from those sources. And Janice, our decision with a child that might be in foster care is if we think that that child is going to be stable enough in that home that we're going to be able to serve them for a minimum of 15 months.
Okay.
And if we think they're stable and we think we can do that, then we're going to invest our resources in trying to find them a match. So that's the main rule there.
And how do you get your volunteers, or what does it take to be a volunteer with Big Brothers Big Sisters?
Well, as we were sitting here, I was just thinking, Janice, you would be an awesome volunteer.
Okay, recruit me on air.
I've been wanting to talk to you about this. So. But basically, we talk to a lot of people. We have folks at our agency who their primary goal in life is to go out and find great volunteers for these great kids. And so we do a lot of presentations, at corporations, at churches, civic organizations like Rotary clubs and Kiwanis clubs, neighborhood associations, and so forth. Another great place we get volunteers is from our existing volunteers.
Okay.
Because when a volunteer gets involved in working with these kids, they get a lot of passion for what they're doing and they want to bring others in and to do this. A lot of people think, oh, there's just no way, that I can do this. This is going to be a big deal. This is like adopting a child. It's nothing like that.
Right.
This is like the most fun, Janice. I mean, it's a serious thing, but it really truly is fun because you're just working with these terrific kids, and these kids, they're just wanting to do anything and everything.
Right.
Go fishing, go to your house and help prepare a meal together. Every kid wants to cook and learn and stuff. And our volunteers, when they come in, tell us after about 6 months, they say, I'm feeling guilty because I think I'm getting more out of this than the kid. And that's what we love to hear.
Okay.
So we get our volunteers from a lot of places, but I'll tell you, I mean, in St. Pete today, we could use another 200 to 300 volunteers this year.
And the time commitment, it's only 4 to 8 hours a month.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people think it's going to be a lot more than that,
Yeah.
but it's really either once a week in a school system or every other week, every 2 weeks out in the community in our community program.
So if you're a volunteer, you can visit the kids at school. You can visit them at school. It's kind of like the mentoring program that we have here within the city.
It is, and actually, we have two distinctive programs, but there is a little bit of blending. But one is, we call it a school-based mentoring program, and we do that in partnership with the school district here in Pinellas County. And then we have our community-based mentoring, where you pick the child up at the home and you do things in the community.
Okay.
There's nothing to say, though, nothing to prevent you, as long as the school agrees that if you're in community-based, you could also visit your little at the school.
Okay.
And we have school-based matches that after a period of time, if they wish, and with the parents' permission, they can also meet outside of school.
Oh, okay. Now, look, on these volunteers, do you do any screenings for these volunteers?
We do, and and we have to be pretty thorough about this. But I don't want to scare people away because it's not that bad.
Well, no, it's not.
It's not that bad, but
But you have to protect the child too.
Child safety.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And we tell the volunteers that come in, we want a full disclosure of everything.
Right.
And everybody's got maybe something in their past that maybe they wish wasn't there. Let's just talk about that. Because in some cases, it may prevent you from being matched. In many cases, it may not. So we're going to do the fingerprints. We're going to ask you, questions and so forth, and what your interests are. We're also going to make sure, that you're stable, at this point in your life and aren't thinking about, moving to Alaska or, taking that new job at, CBS up in New York City or something like that.
I want to stay and enjoy the Florida weather here.
But if you're stable and the child's stable, then we know, we're going to come together.
Right.
And Janice, the other thing that we look for, we're going to ask you, what are your interests? What do you like to do?
Right.
And and you might say, my passion, I just love, I don't know, swimming, or I just love cooking, and I love going into contests, for baking and stuff. Well, then we're going to find a child that maybe would like to learn how to swim.
Right.
Or who might like to learn how to cook better. All of a sudden you're together and doing things you like to do together.
Well, I think it's important that you do try to match up a child the best you can with the volunteer.
Yeah, it's very, very important because we want this match to work.
Exactly.
And we want you guys to stay together for a minimum of 15 months. But many of our matches go on and on and on.
Right, exactly.
And I just wanted to add about the match process. One of the things that's so impressive to me is that we actually have almost 1,000 children on our waiting list. So such a huge need there.
It is.
But when we go through the interview process and we get to know you a little bit more, you don't get just the next child that's on the list. We really comb through that list and find a child that will be a good match for your interests, for what you like to do. And even if you do have something in your background that maybe was a challenging time in your life, we can find a child that maybe is going through something similar, and you can help them through that time. So it's kind of a unique process. And then the first thing that happens is you go on your first date.
Okay.
Which is one of our social workers. We call them match support specialists. Goes and meets with you and the child, the mentor and the child. And it really is, you're kind of nervous, jittery, getting to know this child. You're eager to see if you're going to be, a good fit. And then throughout the relationship, starting from that first meeting on, our match support specialist stays in touch with the child, the parent, and the mentor. So they constantly are checking in, making sure can give you ideas for new activities to do. They can see how communication is working. If there's anything, maybe the parent prefers to text to set up meetings, or they want to email or call, or making sure that communication is working well, so both the child and the mentor can continue to progress in their relationship.
Okay, now for those folks out there who are watching the show and want to volunteer, how would they contact you? Give us some information on that.
Sure, so you would contact our office. Our website is www.bbbspc.org. That's for Pinellas County. And then we also have our Tampa Bay website. But basically, if you search Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Tampa, you'll find our website. And we'll be able to, you'll fill out some preliminary information. Then one of our staff members in community relations will contact you and send you an application. You can look on the application online too, but we're really there to help talk you through the process, to make you feel comfortable as you're filling out your application. Mentors give us references. We're going to call somebody from your family, somebody that if you've been involved with another kind of children's organization in the past. So again, we're very thorough in that process, but it's really easy just to go on our website, bigbrothersbigsisters.org or BBBS, PC or FL.org, and then you'll be able to get more information from there.
Okay. Now, explain your main programs, and I understand that you have community-based, site-based, so sports-based. Explain a little bit about that.
Well, with our community-based program, a lot of the volunteers that come in might like to be involved in sports, let's say. So we have a Sports Buddies program. And we work in close partnership with the Tampa Bay Rays, our favorite baseball team.
All right.
And,
Rays.
Go Rays. And the University of South Florida, and other groups to get us tickets, complimentary tickets that people can use. But we explain, that sports covers a wide range of things. And if you like to play golf, if you like to, go fishing, if you like to go sailing, I mean, here in this area of the world, I mean, there's so much.
Many things to do.
There's so much. And the cool thing is we want you to do a sport together once a month with your little, and then go watch a sport together. And it can be different sports on different months. But if you do that twice a month, then basically you fulfilled your obligations with us.
And those are fun things to do.
Oh my gosh.
Even if you're not sports minded, at least, hey, maybe your little can teach you something about sports or what have you.
So I should add,
Absolutely.
my husband and I are actually a big couple. So we mentor together. And it's interesting because I first contacted the organization. I started out as a volunteer, and actually so did Stephen, before we became staff members. And I wanted to be a big sister, And when I found out there's such a need for male mentors,
Yes,
there's
always.
about 75% of our waiting list is little boys.
Great need.
So with the big couples program, you're matched with a little boy. So I said, I'm pretty sure I can convince my husband to do this with me. And so he was a little, nervous about the time commitment. I told him, I'll organize everything. Just come along. And
That's what we do anyway,
right,
right?
right. And now we've been matched with our little for about a year, and he's brought us closer together as a couple. We've really enjoyed volunteering together. And speaking of the sports buddies, our little's 9 years old, has always lived in St. Pete, and he had never been to a Rays game. He'd actually never seen a baseball game in person. He had seen it on TV.
Right.
So we were fortunate enough. Again, we have a great relationship with the Rays. We had about a dozen kids and their mentors that were able to go on the field before the start of the game and meet the players.
Oh, wow.
So he got a ball. He got to get it signed
how
by some of the
exciting.
top players on the team, and then after, we got to go around and look at the Stingrays, like just everything about the experience.
Right.
He loved the scoreboard, like keeping track, what was going on in the game. After the first inning, all the players were coming off, and he turns to me and say, "Is it over?" Like everybody's kind of, no, we still have 8 more innings to go. Those small things that for a child that's never experienced it. And honestly, with this experience, we spoiled him.
Right.
He's going to think, whenever you go to a baseball game, you get to go on the field and
You
meet
get
the
to do all these
players.
things.
And that's something. We didn't spend any money,
Right.
and we got to spoil a child
Right.
that doesn't usually get to have.
And it's an
that
educational
experience.
process for him too, because
Yes.
he's getting to know something about the sport.
Right.
He's getting an education about the sport, and that's so wonderful. So you said that you all are a big couple.
Yes.
So you have some titles there that are very interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Is that the big couple is a married couple that's
married or
a
have been
significant
in a
over-
relationship for at least a year.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be a married couple.
Okay.
And then also we have our big brother, if you're going to, a male mentor, or a big sister to be a female mentor.
Yeah, and it can be gay or straight. We don't discriminate based on orientation and so forth. Really, we cover the waterfront, as far as good volunteers. We just need good, caring people who want to help a child.
Okay. And your experience as bigs, that's
Bigs.
what you're doing.
Yes,
And that covers big brother and big sisters. too.
that's right. That's
and
right.
you just told us a little bit about your experience as a big couple, and I'm sure that you have probably done this for many years yourself as well.
I first started. I was an attorney actually here in St. Petersburg working when I first got recruited to become a big brother, and that was in 1994, back when I was a pup.
A pup.
And I was one of these typical, I think, guys who I said no. I think I said no to the person asking me to do this about 4 times.
Okay.
And I finally said, look, I'll just come to one of your orientation sessions and I'll at least do that and learn more. And they got their hooks in me, Janice, and I
Didn't let go, and that's all it took.
Well, and it was just wonderful. I met my first little in those days was a 7-year-old boy, and basically he was just growing up in a household of all females, and he had never had a guy, around. And so we had a great relationship. I was matched with Polly, I think, for just over 12 years. And now I'm matched to identical twin boys.
Oh, wow.
And,
how interesting that probably is.
They are a hoot. They are a hoot. And they, in listening to you talk about your experience, they had never been to a movie theater before. They had never been to a beach before.
Wow.
And
Living right here.
yeah, so we went to St. Pete Beach, one afternoon, and I could not get them out of the water. They were just so playful and just joyous, to be experiencing it. And of course, we had to get a grouper sandwich, from one of the little places there and do the traditional stuff. But, it's just, we're just trying to do normal stuff, and we're just trying to provide kids these happy experiences where they can learn. Now, do we also help them with homework once in a while? Sure. You know, and if they're struggling with something and they want to talk about it, do we talk about some serious stuff once in a while? Sure, that's what friends do.
Right.
That's what friends do.
Right.
And that's what this is. You know, we're trying to be these adult friends, these mentors. We're not a replacement parent.
Right.
We want to help the parent or the grandparent. We want to be supportive of what they're doing. And by doing this small thing that we're doing a few hours a month, but it's powerful, Janice. Those few hours a month that you spend with these kids, their self-esteem starts going off the roof. When we monitor that, we start seeing their behavior in school improving. They're going to school more often. And you know what happens next? Good grades.
Yes, right. And you know, we talk about what kind of impact did this have on the kids, where you've just covered that, you know, that type of influence on a child.
It's amazing.
You know,
And it's not
you know, I come from a social service background myself.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I worked with kids for about 20 years, you know, but it was a different type of setting.
Yeah.
But the impact that you have on a child just by doing something like taking them to the beach. You know, a lot of kids really haven't been out of the city limits, you know, so they don't know that, you know, what is not even going to Tampa, to Sarasota, any of those places like that, and it's just, you know, a tremendous impact on them.
Yeah, speaking of impact, this is something, this just happened last week. So my husband and I have been matched with our little for just about 11 months now. And when I went to pick him up the other day, his mom, we had to push back the time a little bit. We were picking him up. So I said, you know, what's going on? She's like, well, he stayed late at school because he asked for a tutor. He wants to do better in school. And that's something, you know, like again, our focus hasn't been schoolwork, but for him to go to his mom and say, I want a tutor so I can do better in school, it made us so proud of him. And you know, sorry, I'm gonna get a little choked up here, but it was just so amazing to know that we really were having that impact, because you don't always feel it right away. It's you know, there's so much going on. Some days he'd be quieter than others. You know, he has 4 siblings, single mom, so you know, there's a lot of challenges in his home life. In the first 8 months we were matched with him, they didn't have permanent housing. So they were luckily staying with family members, which was great, but all different places, all around St. Pete. And we bonded with him so quickly that my husband and I, you know, our match support specialist asked us, you know, are you going to be okay, like driving around to these different locations to pick him up? And we said, absolutely. He needs us to be there for him. We're one of the few areas in his life right now that's consistent. You know, that he knows he can depend on us every few weeks to do something with him and do something fun that he usually isn't able to do with, you know, such a large family. So it's been, like I said, that was one of those moments that I knew we were having an impact.
Wow. You know, and that's one of the things I wanted to ask you briefly about, you know, with some of these kids, if they have caseworkers or what have you, and it's always important that, do you work in any capacity with a caseworker that's working with the child and the family? Because, you know, you have these type of issues, you know, no permanent housing or moving from one home to the other.
You know, Janice, you know, we should have mentioned that earlier. I guess it's one of our best kept secrets, but all of our volunteers and our littles, you know, when we put them together, we call them a match. And all these matches are assigned to a caseworker at our agency. We call them match support specialists. And this is their go-to person for any issue that arises. And this person, for example, if my little brothers tell me that they don't have enough food in the house, you know, so I'm gonna, you know, I can buy them some food, of course, but we're not supposed to do that too much. So what I would do, though, is I would call my match support specialist at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I say, hey, they told me that there's an issue with food. They would immediately, you know, reach out to that family and say, hey, you know, we want to tell you about some resources, and do you need some immediate help? So they run interference for us on things like that. If there's a topic that comes up that's sensitive, you know, with the little and so forth, and gosh, I've never dealt with this issue before, I can call my match specialist at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and he or she can walk me through okay, this is how I would handle that, Stephen.
So there's a lot of collaboration with other agencies that can really work with the kids on whatever type of issues that they're having, and I think that's very important. That is a part of your program, that you do, partner with other agencies to come in and to help with other issues that you don't really deal with directly or have the expertise in dealing with.
Perfectly said. Absolutely. We can't be experts at everything.
Oh, no, we can't.
But the one thing we know is mentoring. We know how to do that, and we know how to do that really well and safely. But yeah, we're going to reach out to our other friends for other needs and services.
Okay, besides being a volunteer or being a big or, what other type of involvement can viewers get involved with Big Brothers and Big Sisters out there?
You mean if you were a volunteer
Yes,
with us and so forth? Well, I'm happy to hear you're going to be a volunteer. First of all, this is
keep pulling me in.
wonderful. I can tell we're going to get along really well. Well, Janice, and one thing I didn't mention too before you come in too, we have a good training program for you. Lasts a couple hours, and then you can get some additional training too. But we're going to make sure you feel prepared and so forth. And we're gonna teach you about different things to do with your little and some experiences. Now, a lot of the time is going to be one-on-one. You're going to go out and do things and share a thing with them, and maybe you have a dog and you're going to introduce your dog to your little and talk about dog care and things like that. But we're also going to have some group things that you can come to, where a lot of us all come together and we're going to go to something as a group. And it could be a picnic, at a county park, or we may have a Big Brother, Big Sister night at the Rays, and we do some special things from them, and everybody gets to wave on the big jumbotron, and do crazy stuff like that. So we're going to provide you those kinds of opportunities. Now, we're a not-for-profit, and so what else do? We do fundraising.
Oh, of course.
And
it's important to keep the program going.
It's very important, but we really wanted to emphasize more the volunteers today. But we do try to engage our bigs and the littles sometimes too in some of our fundraising, so they can see the connectivity between the money and the program. We have a big Bowl for Kids' Sake program we do in the spring, in March, for example. Oh, and coming up in November, we have a really fun event coming up because it involves gumbo. And I love gumbo.
Oh my goodness!
But it's Frenchies in Clearwater. They have this gumbo tennis tournament. It's 3 days, and it's in the early part of the month. And this is on our website as well.
Coming up November 7th.
But it's a tennis tournament, and so you can get some exercise, and then you can eat some gumbo and help kids. What's wrong with this?
It sounds like a win-win to me.
Oh, yeah. So we're very, very excited about that event coming up. So.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up? We're running out of time, but I feel that we can just go on and on about this. Why don't you give us that website again and the phone number?
Okay, all right. We'd love everybody here in St. Pete to call us or to go to the internet at www.bbbspc for Pinellas County.org. And and if you forget, just Google Big Brothers Big Sisters Pinellas and you'll find us. Okay. And I think that's probably the best way to get in touch with us.
Right. Okay. And I brought something for you, Janice. So Halloween's coming.
Okay.
So I brought some candy for you.
Wow. Just what I need.
So this is M&Ms. This is because we need mentors and more mentors.
Okay.
So pass that along to someone else today. Tell them you got it from Big Brothers Big Sisters, and that we need mentors. Share it with somebody.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both for joining us. Here is the contact information on the screen again for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I'm Janice Ford. Thanks for watching St. Petersburg Together. See you again next time.